The top 5 best staples. A staple is a card that is good in every single deck, unless you're running some kind of janky OTK deck where all 40 cards are meticulously placed and there can be no variations from the formula. Number 5 on this list is Dark Hole. Dark Hole can seriously save your ass if top deck later in the duel or push for game. This card being at 1 is also pretty much the reason people stopped using Fissure and Smashing Ground. Remember those two cards? Believe it or not, both of them were limited at one point. Then Dark Hole came out and no one used them anymore. Number 4 is Solemn Warning. This card can win you games by itself. Most people run a Lance or 2 to protect their boss monsters from Bottomless Trap Hole or Torrential Tribute, while hoping they don't have a face-down Solemn because Lance don't do shit against this card. Although, how well this card works is entirely dependent on how well you know your opponent's deck. Number 3 is dprison. Why dprison when things like Mirror Force and Bottomless Trap Hole are out there as well? Well, in today's meta, there are tons of cards who are absolutely okay with being sent to the grave or have some kind of prevention to destruction, but very few who are immune to straight up just being banished. Bottomless Trap Hole does banish too, but it has to be able to destroy the monster first, which means it can be negated by a ton of cards and just straight up doesn't work on some cards. Also, dprison is a reliable banish because if there's one thing a monster on the field is going to do, it's attack at some point. Well, not every time, but 99% of the time. Number 2 is Evac Veeler. In today's meta, dominated by monster effects, you need some kind of effect negation in your deck. Out of the 3 common choices for effect negation, Evac Veeler is by far the best. Why? Because Lance don't do shit against it. Also, out of the 3, you can use Evac Veeler on your first turn to stop FTKs. Now, time for number 1, the bestest staple card out there. MST, or the Mystical Space Typhoon. This card has been a staple ever since it was first introduced and has gone through the motions through the ban list just like all the other good staples. MST is the staple. Every deck plays at least one, unless the deck has a way to replace this card with one from its own archetype. If you're playing against someone and you know nothing about their deck, you're safe to assume they at least have MST in their deck, and place your trap cards accordingly. If you only have one trap card in your hand, you're probably best not to set it because it's just going to get MST'd. Even if your deck is filled with monster cards that destroy spell and traps, you still need MST because of a little card known as Skill Drain. It could be safe to argue that you need to play at least one MST just in case you run into someone who plays Skill Drain. And that's it for my top 5 staples. Now, seeing as this is a top 5 list, all places are absolute and 100% truth, and not opinion. If you disagree with any of the choices, you are wrong, not me.